In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use a notional space box and construction lines to draw a curved line. So to begin with, we want to start with drawing our notional space box. Here on this particular shape, it's quite easy because our right side here will end up being the right side of our notional space box, and that measurement is complete, which is nice. So I'm not going to draw a line here. However, I am going to draw our notional space box lines here on the left, the top, and the bottom. So I will actually start with the top and the bottom of the shape by rotating my board. This way I can draw a vertical line, which will be a lot easier than trying to draw that horizontal. I have my top and my bottom. Once we get the hang of drawing notional space boxes on one object, it tends to be simple and very similar for most objects. Check to make sure I have a nice horizontal. I do. Here, this one shifts down a little bit when I view it, so I'm going to make a correction. When I draw my notional space boxes, I know that my edge is going to be here. However, I tend to draw the line further out just to be sure, make sure I have enough. What I'll then do is I want to make sure that my notional space box hits on the outermost portion. I don't want to draw it here because I'm going to go through my object. I'm going to draw it all the way to the outermost portion. So I'm going to draw a few light lines at the beginning. Again, I'm using an overhand grip on my pencil. Overhand grip, not tripod grip. Overhand grip. Using the side of the pencil. And there we go. Clean this up a little bit. Now I have to transfer my notional space box from here to my drawing side here. So again, I'm going to start with my top lines and my bottom lines because we know that the height is going to be the same, so it's going to be very easy to transfer those measurements. I'm going to come across. I'm going to check and recheck this. Let's see if I can show in the camera how this line horizontally across right there. I'll check for myself. Looks a little high here, so I'm going to just lower that a little bit. If you notice, I made my correction and then I'm going to erase. It's a very valuable tip. Very often you'll draw a line, make a mistake, you'll erase the line, then try to redraw it. You end up making the same mistake over. So if you just redraw the line first, use your mistake as a guide, then erase after, you're usually okay. So I have my top. I'm going to continue across, find my bottom. And there we go. So on the last video I made, you'll notice that I started from the left and went to the right. Well, here our curve is on our left, so I want to start with my notional space box right hand side. Okay? So I'm going to find a spot and I'm going to just draw a nice vertical line. Come back, clean this up a little bit. Clean it up, and this line here represents this line here. Now what I have to do is find my notional space box line here, and represent it here. How I'm going to do that is take a measurement going across, pencil tip on the edge, finger on the front, and then transfer that measurement. I'm going to go there. Check that measurement. Now I'm going to make a nice vertical line. Clean that up. Made a little mistake here, so I'm going to correct that. and then erase. So what I'm going to use now is construction lines to draw these curves. A curve here and a curve here. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to use complete straight lines as construction lines going across to find where things go. So the first thing I'm going to do is come to this corner here, this anchor point, and I'm going to kind of see where this line comes across. That edge, so to speak. Right there is what I have is a construction line. Now I know it starts here at my anchor point, which relates to here. Now I need to find where does this anchor point meet on my notional space box. Remember, all construction lines must touch the notional space box in 2 spots. So I have my point here, I have to find this point here. I can simply go from this corner down to here. I find that spot. Very simple there, and I can draw a line. Good. Our next construction line, I'm going to kind of find where this one reaches off the edge. And I'm going to draw another line, another construction line going through. Again, I'll find where this construction line is, the anchor points on my notional space box there and here. First, I'll find my top. Again, I'm going to go from my corner anchor point to the construction line, come across, measure that point, and I can make a little mark. Now I'm going to find down. From that point again, down, bring it over to here. There we have it. Now I can connect that line. So we don't have this half of the circle being drawn yet, but we do have these construction lines which are going to serve as a guide to find that curve. Now I'm going to find my last one. Because this meets my notional space box here, I'm going to draw another construction line right through, like so. Find my top construction line point here, right there. Then I'm going to go down and find that construction line anchor point, which is here. So, I'm using straight geometric lines. I've gotten 3 construction lines for this part of that circle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually find the bottom section now before I worry about trying to curve it. So I'm going to do the same process as I did on the top, but flip it on the bottom. Find my bottom anchor point there, which relates here. Again, I'm drawing a little awkward because I'm trying not to block the camera. There we go. So I drew that a little curved. So I have this point in relation there. I'm going to measure up and find this point here, and then I will draw it. Next, I'll find my next construction line here, again riding right along this curve in the circle, straight line there. I'm going to find my bottom anchor point. Then I'll look for my anchor point going up the notional space box, find that, and I will connect it. One thing that students often do is they try to find these anchor points and they mark them on their notional space box, but they mark them very dark and they're difficult to erase. Use the side of your pencil, draw them very lightly, you should be fine. Now I need to find this last one, which will go from our anchor point here, which relates to there, and come straight down on that angle to here. I already have this point. Now I need to find that anchor point, go from that bottom corner over, and I will draw that line. Now, you do see that there's a lot of lines here. However, if you notice and compare the two, you can almost find that half circle in there. If you were to try to draw this half circle freehand, you'd find that perhaps the top would be smaller and then bubble out. It would be very difficult to find where those curves end up. Now that we have these construction lines, it's quite simple. We can start here at our corner, and we can then curve inside here as we rotate around our construction lines. Much easier to find where these curves are now. Again, using the side of the pencil. I'm not trying to be committing. I don't want to commit at this point to exactly where that line should be until I know I'm right. I don't want to commit yet. So I'm using the side of my pencil, and I'm searching for those curves inside my construction line. Here I was a little too inside, so I need to push that out just a little bit. So I made that correction. Then I could come back and erase. Once I do find that it's correct, here I've got it looks like it's coming to a little bit of a point here, so I had to make sure that curve is correct. So I do believe I need to take some of that outside off. And I'm going to start to come back and form this by erasing my construction lines and the lines I don't need around it. And while I'm erasing these construction lines, you're going to start to see that this curve is coming out. I may find that there's some spots where it's a little rigid. This spot's a little rigid here, but I think if I erase here, it might round out a little. Once I'm happy with that, I can then come back and erase the rest of my construction lines out of there and make some final touches to my curve. Obviously, a curve is a little more difficult to draw than a diamond shape like our last lesson. But again, it's the process that's important here, and we're learning this process. You know, this is a very simple half circle shape. However, think about when we're drawing eyeballs or a head or shoulders or a leg, curvature in a leg. We need to understand how to draw that curvature. And that process is what's important. And eventually what I'll be able to get out of this is I'll be able to sculpt that half a circle out of here. I'll come back in and erase my construction lines. Meanwhile, you should be drawing very lightly. Just a reminder, draw very lightly. I'm drawing a little darker so it'll show up. And I have a couple spots where it's a little bumpy, but I can come back, and this is where we really take some refinement. And we sculpt that circle out of those lines. And that's essentially how you draw a curved line or a curved shape using a notional space box and straight geometric lines. Hopefully this helps you and keeps you moving forward. Hope you enjoyed.